Hey everyone. Sorry if the camera angle was a little off. After spending an hour trying to get it to cooperate, I finally gave up. So today we'll be reviewing the most the most overrated weapon in all of Dark Souls history. The supposed top tier weapon, the Lothric Knight Straight Sword. So, to start off, this weapon is supposedly the most damaging fast weapon in the game. But I have a feeling the only reason people think it's top tier is this. It has a bunch of thrust attacks, which they all come out just about the same. Except for that one. That one's actually slower. And on top of that, even its faster slash attacks are actually of equal speed to the Exile Greatsword, which does more damage, can smash a shield, has much higher strength scaling, being a strength weapon and all. And it's like, yeah, that's not... The only thing the weapon has over the Exile Greatsword is that it has a freaking thrust in half the moves you can use, if not more. It's kind of an insignificant upside. I mean, sure, it's much lighter than the Exile Greatsword, but what the heck does that matter? It's really just a super overrated weapon. And yeah, I hate it. It is the weapon I loathe most. And I think I wouldn't have a problem with it if it wasn't for a community building it up to be this overpowered weapon when it's actually one of the worst weapons I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. I've done better with my bare hands than I've done with this piece of crap. That's how bad it is. Yet everyone seems to think it's the most overpowered thing in the game. And normally my weapons are upgraded or infused when I do these reviews. I didn't care enough about this weapon to do any of those. I didn't care enough about this weapon to make a build around it. I just threw it on whatever build I was using. So yeah, I straight up hate this weapon. It has nothing good going for it. It's not that cool looking. It's not very powerful. Although everyone thinks it's the top tier weapon. Like literally, no matter what meta list you look at, random or not, which I don't get that either, what qualifies you as a random? That you're a YouTuber? So wouldn't that make any meta list a randoms meta list and therefore untrustworthy? Whatever. But anyways, no matter whose meta list you look at, you're going to see the same thing. This thing being the top tier weapon. And I don't get it. It's like, how is this piece of crap useful? I mean, yes, if you're a badass with it, it can be. But here's the thing. This is the most recommended weapon for beginners. But there's very few things this weapon has going for it. And beginners aren't going to know any of them. So, one, it's only faster than most weapons when it comes to thrusting. That's it. So you can't really can't really utilize that too much if you don't understand how to make thrusting effective, which a beginner isn't going to know how to do. Second, it does do a tiny bit of critical damage more than usual, but in Dark Souls 3, critical damage not only means nothing, but a beginner isn't going to know what critical damage does. Okay, they just plain aren't. And on top of that, a beginner's probably going to think something like, I don't really know what they would, because I haven't really used straight swords much in general, and I never used them in Dark Souls 2 because they sucked. But anyways, it really has nothing going for it, especially not for a beginner. And they would probably think something along the lines of, two-handing will give them better damage when straight swords only work with a shield, apparently. I don't get why people think that, but they do. When straight swords don't work at all. There are a couple exceptions. There are a couple good straight swords. There's the dark sword and there's the ethereal straight sword, which can actually do damage and are actually fast. It's sort of like the whole Lucerne thing, where people think it's crap, but if range and thrust damage are so overpowered, then when a weapon with more range than most thrust weapons that does thrust damage be like the most overpowered weapon in the game? Anyways, this has been why I hate the Lothric Knight straight sword, like most straight swords, and I'm really not looking forward to the next straight sword review. Unless it's one of the two I mentioned that are actually somewhat usable.